Through here we can see a Royal Caribbean, and it's right up to the dock. It shows how deep the fjord is.
Norway is Europe's largest supplier of fish and fish products. In the course of the last 10 years, they've landed the export value has doubled to over 30 billion Norwegian kroner. And 95% of what is produced right here is exported. And they have
So you're taking them on a camera and then
transferring them.
Is a very small. Look at this. This is beautiful today.
House for lunch.
This is a two-way road, and we are in a big bus. Occasionally,
Got some land for somebody.
we see other vehicles.
That you'll see in the shops.
Well, we're now on a wider road.
Big
Piece of
celebration
cake.
Christmas Eve.
We're on another ferry ride. This one's about 20 minutes, and we are underway from Lavik, L-A-V-I-K. We're approaching the ferry landing, and there's not much of a town on this side. Just looks like a nice little farming community.
The first night phone call.
We are approaching Bergen, and we're going to go over a bridge for a change. It's a floating pontoon bridge because it is so deep. We are in downtown Bergen, about 250,000 people here. And these are fish vendors.
11:30 and 11:80. Now the church is currently closed for restoration. It still has 2 more years of restoration to go. Now the people who work on the fish market are really quite friendly. If you go and talk to them, they'll often offer you lots of things to try. Maybe Bergen, or maybe you want to try some whale meat, or perhaps caviar takes your fancy. But make sure that when you walk through the fish market, you do talk to the people who are working there. They really do make the experience. See a monument in the middle of the square, and this was the monument to seafarers raised in the 1950s in order to honour all of those men who dedicated their lives to the sea. So 1843.
Edvard Grieg.
Now coming up on the left hand side you can see the bandstand here in the city. Now as you can see, the people of Bergen take great pride in their bandstand, and it's quite interesting as to how this bandstand came to be here in Bergen. It arrived to Bergen at the end of the 1800s, modern European city. When Bergen looked at the other modern European cities, it realised they all had bandstands. It did not want to be any different, and so that bandstand was brought to the city mail order from Germany. On the right hand side now you can see an area along the waterfront that's recently been developed. You can see lots of new office spaces have been built there, and you can see there is still a little bit of work left to be done as well. This marks the place where there was once a shipyard here in the city, the Bergen. Now rope working was a specialised craft here in the city. It's first mentioned in the history books around the year 1600, and what they used to do is they would make the ropes out of a material known as hemp. Hemp is a plant-based material and highly absorbent, and this is why they needed to make the ropes in those long buildings there. Once the ropes were complete and twisted together, what they would then do is boil the ropes in tar, and this would make them watertight and suitable for use on all of the ships that would sail in and out of Bergen's harbour.
So we have a modern freeway here, and up here is the house of, I think it was the first Prime Minister.
Union, Norway was not allowed to have its own independent foreign policy. Otherwise, the union with Sweden was fairly liberal. Now, eventually, Christian Michelsen, he suggested to the Norwegian Parliament that they pass a bill that, of course, said that Norway could have its own foreign policy. The bill was passed and then sent to the King of Sweden for royal assent. The King, of course, did not give assent to the bill to become law, and on this point, then the Norwegian Parliament resigned. The government resigned also. Norway to gain its independence. Christian Michelsen then spent 2 years as the first Prime Minister of the independent Norway, and after that 2 years he returned to live on the house on the old hill that we saw a little moment ago. After he died, the Norwegian people started a fundraising campaign because they wanted the Norwegian state to purchase that property. They wanted it to become a state-owned building. The Norwegian constitution, which had been written in 1814, provided for a monarchy. So he looked around the royal families of Europe, most notably Scandinavia, and then eventually his eyes fell upon a Danish prince, a prince called Prince Carl, and he asked him to come over and become the King of Norway. Prince Carl, of course, said that he would love to become the King of Norway, but he didn't want to unless the Norwegian people wanted him to become a king and wanted to have a monarchy. So a referendum was held here in Norway, and nearly 80% of people voted yes to having a royal family in 1905. So Prince Carl came over from Denmark. He became King Haakon VII of Norway, and he brought with him his British wife Maud, who was a granddaughter of Queen Victoria. And still today you will find the two royal families are very closely linked. Bergen on the 15th of June 1843, and he was born in the city centre. He was not born at the house that we're going to see. He built this house later on during his life. Now Edvard Grieg, he was born to fairly well-off parents, and his mother was the best piano teacher in the whole of Bergen, and it was her who taught Edvard to play the piano. Now Edvard, he didn't make a very good piano student. When placed in front of the piano, instead of sitting down and practicing set pieces as he ought to, he preferred instead to improvise. It made him a bad student, but was perhaps a sign of things to come. When he was 15 years of age, he was sent to Leipzig to study music at the Music Conservatory there. He graduated 4 years later with the highest of honours, although we can see down here. First of all, we have a sculpture of the composer, Edvard Grieg, who is by the Norwegian sculptor Ingebrigt Vik. He was, I guess, Western Norway's equivalent to Gustav Vigeland. I know many of you will have visited the sculpture park in Oslo. This is Western Norway's Gustav Vigeland, Ingebrigt Vik. And this sculpture is one of the few in the world, I guess, to have ever been made in actual size. So let's
finished in 1885.
Style of a Victorian villa. He also had some very specific requests when it came to the house. He said he wanted the house to feel light and airy.
Nice front yard here. Not a bad place to sit.
Yeah, this is Edvard Grieg's view from his house. And here's the house.
The sun was setting, and the last rays of sunlight, they hit the rock just there, and he turned to his friend and he said, "It's there I would like to rest forever." After he died, his wish was remembered. His tomb was again designed by his cousin Jacques Bull, the same man who designed the house that we saw just a moment ago. When they brought Edvard Grieg back here to his house at Trollhaugen, there was a little black thrush that sat in one of the trees over there, and it sang its song for the entire day. And people say that was Edvard, happy to be back at his home at Trollhaugen.
Here we are at water level. They probably had boats tied up here.
Souvenir stalls in the area over on your right-hand side, but on your left-hand side is the main fish market there. So if you're interested in the fish, you want to head over onto this area here on your left-hand side. We're now approaching the area of the old wharf known as Bryggen, and it's here that we will be taking a walk, historic walk here on the wharf known